Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So yes, you read the title of this video correctly, and I did almost break the Indian national record for fewest moves, which is an event where you get 1 hour and you need to figure out the shortest solution to the given scramble to the best of your abilities. And I found a 24 move solution on this scramble. So let's get right into this video. Well, first a brief introduction. The competition I attended, I will make a very elaborate video, not too elaborate because it had just one event, which was FMC, but I will make a video about this competition right after this one, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe now. And yeah, I don't really do FMC, I don't use any fancy methods. In fact, I learned NISS, which is normal inverse scramble switch. A very cool concept actually. I learned it about 2 days before this competition, and yeah, it actually did come in handy in the competition. So yeah, it's a great method, pretty intuitive. And my solutions are mainly based on block building, pseudo-slotting, and things like that. So I just do an essential F2L CFOP solve and hope for the best. And in this case, it wasn't just hope that got me through. I actually had to use a lot of intuition, and I will get into that in this video. So let's start with the scramble. So you're allowed 3 cubes for the event, and yeah, I'm just going to scramble the first one. The scramble's here, but I'll also just put it on the screen because that's clearer. Okay, so the first thing I noticed on this scramble was, well, I don't really do domino reduction or any of those fancy things, so I was just looking for blocks. And as you can see, there are no blocks. So yeah, there were no blocks in the scramble. I didn't really have much hope at this point. And you will know why I didn't have much hope, because this is the third scramble. And the second scramble was an absolute disaster for me. I will tell you about that in the next video. Anyway, so I was looking for ways to make blocks, and the first thing I saw is, okay, this white, green, red corner is just a move away from this white green edge. So that makes a block. Well, a small block, it's a 1 by 1 by 2. This is nothing. And I noticed that, okay, if I'm gonna be going with this block, then I might as well take this red edge and get it to where, you know, this thing makes like a square, a 1 by 2 by 2. And I also realized that this orange green edge would come in handy to solve. So this is me just trying to solve as many edges as I can, or orient them, to be fair. So here I did something like this, got this here, got this back, so that made the square and solved this edge. And then I knew I had to get the red-green edge here, which was just a move away, but I noticed something crazier. I could make kind of a pseudo block, if that makes any sense. I don't even know if it's the right term, but what I wanted to do was, I also wanted to solve the white-green-orange corner since I had just solved the edge. So I noticed I could do that with the white-orange edge, which would also go here eventually. So I did R prime to pair those, and I inserted it with U prime R2 because that would also solve the red-green, right? So, and then D2. So that was about 8 moves into a 2 by 2 by 3, which I think was pretty good. And it wasn't a very straightforward solution, so I'm pretty happy that I found that. And then I spent about 15 or 20 minutes on this, trying to find efficient ways to solve the next pairs and, you know, cancel into fancy cross insertions and I don't know, all sorts of crazy stuff I was just looking at, and I couldn't find anything. So naturally what I did, well, first let me get back to the same state that I was at. So yeah, we were here, and naturally what I did was I switched to the inverse because I couldn't really find anything at all. And even using basic, you know, basic moves, I was getting like 33, 35 move solutions, and I was happy with that, honestly. I was expecting a low 30 mean, which is what I would have got. I would have got a 33 mean, if not for the disaster, which I will talk about later in another video. And yeah, I ended up just spending the rest of the time on the inverse because I figured, okay, I need to find a better solution. Sure, I found an 8 move 2 by 2 by 3, which led to a low 30 or mid 30 move solution, but this is where I switch to the inverse, and this is where things get really interesting. So let's switch to the inverse. Also, if you don't know how to switch to the inverse of a scramble, like randomly in the middle of a solve, do let me know. I should make a tutorial about it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, this is the inverse at the same state. It's not the same, it's the same scramble inverted, but with these moves applied, so I inverted them as well. So yeah, this is the inverse, and naturally, like, you guys see this, right? So I made the 2 by 2 by 3 on a white-green major base. So I was either going to go for a white extension or a green extension. And of course, I saw this pair. I was like, it has to be green. And I saw that in 4 more moves, I could turn this into an F2L -1. And the way to do that is not to insert this cross edge and then solve the pair. It's to do them together with R prime F2R. So that did both of those things together. And yeah, that was pretty good. Like I was like, okay, I've made 12 moves so far and I've solved that much of the cube. That's pretty good. And at this point, I was considering a lot of things because this is my last pair and I have to go with this. Like I've spent 12 moves, which is pretty good for my standards. And considering I don't know anything about FMC like in depth. So yeah, I did do a lot of practice before this comp, but that's about it. So yeah, I went ahead and solved this pair like you usually would, but I didn't insert it like you usually would. So I spent about 5 minutes on the various insertions possible. So I did that, didn't work. I did that, didn't work. I did a sledgehammer, didn't give me anything. Like there was no fruitful outcome here. And this is where I started sort of giving up. And then I realized, okay, there are other ways to insert it. And one of those, well, it didn't immediately strike me, but I kind of observed the patterns on the cube and I noticed that orange here and orange here is great. And it's actually more than great because if I insert this in a way where I can pair these 2 oranges and bring that block over so that so that this corner is on this side of this white edge, I would have I would just have like a block, right? And that's what I went for. So I inserted this with essentially an M prime, which is not you can't make an M prime in FMC. It would have to be an L R prime and then F R F prime L prime. So yeah, at this point I was like, okay, that was decent and it did achieve my goal. So I was pretty happy with this and I didn't fully, I should have seen it because this was already solved, that had I solved these 2, the last one would be solved as well. So all my edges were solved and I was left with a 3-corner comb, which is just, well, since I use a UFR buffer I'm learning 3-style, I'm not good at it. I don't even know all of it yet. But since I use a UFR buffer, this is just BI. So, what is BI? That is BI. So it was like a 9-move comb or 8 or 9 move comb. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And I got a 30. So I was at a 30 move solution at this point. And yeah, this is where things start getting extremely interesting. So let's go back to that point in the scramble. So at this point in the video, I would like to bring in my my working for this solution. This is in comp working. And if you notice, wait, let me get this in focus. So if you notice, I had a 30 initially. Well, I had a 33 initially, and then I got it down to a 30. And then I tried a lot of different inserts, and nothing really happened. I had 30 with 21 plus 9. I had 30 with 17, 8, and 5. Like I had just no way to get below that, and it was kind of annoying. Then I realized, hey, the last set of moves is just a corner comb. It only influences those 3 corners. So technically, you could influence the state of those 3 corners at any point during the solve. And I promise you, I did not know this was an actual thing FMC solvers do. But I'm guessing this is what they call insertions, where they figure out where in the scramble it's most efficient to insert your particular commutator. I don't know, I could be entirely wrong. Please correct me if I am, because like I might be just speaking some random stuff here. But okay, this is my intuition. And because my intuition said, okay, if you have 3 corners that you have to influence, you could influence them at any point, which means, what were the last few moves before this? It was something like that. So I traced these corners back and I noticed that, okay, so I have a pattern here, which is this red goes to that blue, which goes to this blue. And I kept tracing those. And well, this was that. And then I kept tracing it. And I realized that at some point this would simplify in a way that it could cancel the moves of my solution itself. If that doesn't make sense to you, that's fair, because it didn't make sense to me for 5 whole minutes in my attempt. And then it started making sense. So as you can see here, I started writing down that commutator and I started inserting it at random points going backwards in my solution. And I kept doing that, and eventually I found a point where I couldn't trace those pieces any longer. So I just figured, you know what, here's where I'm putting the commutator. And well, it wasn't entirely that. It was also because, well, I had a B2, L2, and sorry, I had the LB2. I think this is where I inserted it. I'm not too sure. And because of that, well, yeah, this is where I inserted it, because BL, B2, L2. I put it right after this L, and the commutator starts with L prime, B prime in home grip, I started with that from that configuration of corners. So let me try setting that up for you now. Yeah, so at this stage, the moves BL, B2, I was solving this pair in the back, right? So at this point I noticed that I had the same three corners, BL, L prime, B prime, this cancelled out. And I had R prime, B, L, B prime, R, B prime, L2, R, D, L, D prime, R prime. So if you notice this part, wait, I need a pen. If you notice this part, R, D, L, D prime, R prime, like all of this stuff, is just our the moves that we did to insert that pair, which was like M prime, U, R, U prime, R prime. It was these moves. Just basically switched to a green front, white top orientation. So that's basically what that was. And because I moved the commutator before that insertion, it now solves those corners. And so once I do this part of the solution, everything gets solved. So yeah. If all went according to plan, this should work. But there's a high chance it doesn't. So I did this. Yeah, that's it. So it's solved. And yeah, I hope you understood the intuition behind it. I could go down into extreme detail about how this works from that angle. So let's just switch back to the inverse real quick. So yeah, again, you have this, but before you just go ahead and insert this. Well, no, this is inserted, to be fair. It's not this part. It's this part. That's where you make the difference. It was red, blue, blue. So it was like R prime, U, L, U prime. And then, well, I just cancelled the rest of the moves because it was then R prime, U, L prime. But then the next moves were U to L prime. So I cancelled that. And that's what this was. Just convert the U's to B's because this is the real orientation. This is the current orientation. And then, yeah, it's just, then it makes sense. Because it would just be that and our insertion from before. So if that makes sense now, if you look at the scramble, this block is solved, right? And the same logic where orange would go pair with this orange and that block would come to the right works. And this is a block, so you know you're gonna get everything solved. So yeah, I just did the same exact F12 pair insertion, except now the corners are solved. So that on an overall looks something like this. We didn't use the third cube, so I feel bad. Let's just use it now. I did use all three cubes in the attempt. So now we have, well, and then I just wrote my final solution. I mean, of course I don't have my official sheet, that's with the delegate. But this was my final solution. And let's see how it looks. So in order to write your final solution, again, I can make a video about that, so I don't want to make this video too long. So that's the scramble, and here is the solution. So the first 8 moves were on, this is the same as the normal scramble, and then the magic happened, because the insertion really helped out here. And yeah, that's all the whole thing. Like that, I feel like that was, that brought me to a stage where this should be the conclusion of the video. I'm really sorry for how long this has been. But that was the stage where I realized that I developed a decent amount of intuition for FMC. And yeah, I think I should just get into FMC at this point. But yes, it is by no means my main event. But it is a fun event because it's a lot of thinking and it's a lot of, brainstorming, and I love that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will gladly make a tutorial about this and about the methods I used in this video. In fact, you should just expect that this week. Because yeah, it's pretty important. And yes, I will update you about my cubing competition status in the next video, and hopefully future competitions as well. In fact, spoiler alert, there might be one next week. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. 24 moves, hooray, let's go. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Leave your feedback in the comments. Let me know what you thought of my solution. Let me know if you found a better solution, honestly, because I think there's people that found better solutions. I'm not too sure. But there probably are. I mean, there's definitely people that found better solutions. So, yeah. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and peace.